and so many who just come together working day in and day out to benefit all of you and all of us. But at the national, the international level, it's a different story, isn't it? And it's a different story because of one day that had many chapters before it, but they were ignored. You know, the World Trade Center was first blown up in 1993. The USS Cole was a Navy ship that was attacked by terrorists. We had embassies around the world that were attacked, destroyed, and killed innocent people. That was all looked at and glossed over, and we turned away. And we saw the growing storm and collectively chose to ignore it. And then on one day, the world changed, and America changed, and our responsibilities changed, and our beliefs in government and what we need to do changed. And that was September 11, 2001. And there was a world in which people would love, if life was a TiVo machine where you can go back in time and reverse it and undo it, wouldn't we all want to reverse what happened on that day? Wouldn't we all want to assume that it would be so easy to wish it away? But we can't. We have to understand that as the powers changed and the world changed on that day, so should we. And we took and we made a very strong proposition to the world. America will never be attacked again. And we had to make some choices. Some think they were tough. I thought they were relatively common sense. So prior to 9/11, believe it or not, if a CIA agent and an FBI agent had information on a suspected terrorist, guess what? If they communicated with each other, they could go to jail. We said that's wrong. Why? Because it undermined our national security. In addition, when we get terrorists on the battlefield, there were those who say, we need to give them more and more rights, as if they have a clue what that means. We have to give them all the protections of the Geneva Convention because they complied with the Geneva Convention. We have to assume that they fight under a nation state wearing a uniform and they wear their country's flag proudly on their lapel. What they fail to understand is that these are the sick individuals that put bombs on themselves and walk onto a crowded bus or get onto a plane and fly into a building. They don't know what rights are. They don't know what rules are. They don't know what civilization is. So for those who say we need to move heaven and earth to give them more rights, I say they took away the most fundamental right of almost 3,000 Americans on September 11th. They took away their right to live. And now their families endure. And there are those who want to jump through hoops to give them more rights. I said, send them back to wherever they came from. We had a debate. And there were those, regrettably, who were so enraged by their disgust or hatred of our president. They're blinded by it seems. Blinded by it so much that they're willing, I believe, they'll compromise our national personal security. So when the President of the United States and Congress steps forward and says, we should be listening to terrorist conversations, if they are calling from somewhere around the world, and we believe them to be Al-Qaeda terrorists, if they're calling somebody here in America, we want to know who they're talking to, and we want to know what they're saying. Why? Because we're curious? Yes, in part. But mainly because we want to ensure the United States of America is never attacked again. I support that. And as I say, words have meanings, and actions have consequences. And the other side almost pretends that they stand for something when they admit publicly they don't have to take these positions. And when they do, they're the wrong ones. They want to repeal the Patriot Act. They want to undo the terrorist surveillance program. They want to take away our ability to interrogate terrorists so we can prevent another attack. I say that's wrong for America, it's wrong for Staten Island, and it makes us less safe. We need to engage the American people and take that battle to them, and on November 7th, that message will resonate for the good, honest, decent, innocent people of this community and this country, which is why I believe we will all prevail on election day. We know that this world in September 11th is not an isolated event. I mentioned the USS Cole and other events. We almost want to jump to the next page and say, hey, what about that bombing that occurred on July 7th of 2005 in the London subway system? What about when they blew up the trains in Madrid? But what about when they walked into a disco in Bali and blew it up? What about when they go in different parts of the world? Sometimes we don't even hear about it. And they threaten to kill innocent people, or they attempt to kill innocent people, and because of a trigger failure, they don't blow themselves and kill another 150 people. That's the world in which we live, and I think the other side, the leadership of the other side of the aisle, doesn't adequately reflect what the American people want. We need to take every measure physically possible to protect the American people. Several weeks ago, there were 10 planes that were going to leave London's Heathrow Airport. On those planes, if you can just think back, the last time you flew, you got on a plane, you sat down, there were probably kids laughing or crying, people chattering, waiting to take a flight over from London to the United States, New York, Chicago. Innocent people, some vacationing, some going to return to loved ones. And on those planes were a bunch of terrorists. And they were ready, willing, and able to incinerate almost 4,000 innocent people in minutes. But because of those tools that we've had in place now for the last 5 years, the ability to interrogate and get information, the ability to monitor and provide surveillance on terrorists, and the ability to allow law enforcement at all levels to communicate with each other, if the other side had their way, would not be in place as it is today. Because of those three fundamental things, 4,000 people went home to their loved ones, went back to work, saw their grandparents, saw their grandchildren. That's because there's a clear choice. And I say this to all of you. I couldn't be more humbled and proud to represent Staten Island and Brooklyn. This is my hometown. This is my hometown. We all love this place. We all love this place. And what I want to make sure, every day, you need to know one thing. All these issues are important. Taxes, the other side wants to raise them, we'll keep them low. Education, I want every kid to have a quality education. Park says we continue to beautify Staten Island at all levels. I think it's a great thing. But you need to know that I go to work every day, and even when I'm not going into the office, it's 365 days a year, that I will do everything in my power, given to me by the people, if they continue to entrust me with it, to ensure that this community is never affected like it was on September 11th, 2001.